Hello everyone, my name is AP the Weird One, and welcome back to more Full Metal Panic. Now we're going to take a slight break from Fumafu to discuss some short stories from the Volume 4, Indifferent for When Scattering. There's some short stories that are not made into anime that I would like to discuss, do a little reviewing of. They're all fine and dandy. I was going to do this a little bit earlier, but I felt like the timing worked out sense. So the next short story we're going to have to engage in is Fancies Without Honor or Humanity, which is, for Volume 5. And then we go to Uncooperative Bluebird and the 5th period Hotspot. So there's not any really room to do the Indifferent on 4 when scattering. I was going to do this, let's see, when was I going to do? I was going to do this right before the Goddess comes to Japan, but I'm like, I said to change my mind. I was going to think about doing all the anime, but I decided to do it this way because it's going to be like a whole bunch of reading. I'm not exactly 100% sure how I'm going to handle the last bit. I think I'll discuss at the very end what my plan is. But yeah, so we're going to go over it. So we have Who Killed Cocky Robin of the Rocky Shores, The Innocence of Remembrance, Part 1 and Part 2, and an Adult Sneaking Mission. Now, I'm going to start first off with the first one, and then I'm going to go to the last one. We've already did Engage 6-7, which is the introduction to Kurt Weber and Sosuke Sagara. That's how Mal met them. That was in Season 1 of the anime. So we're going to do these two, and I'm going to save The Innocence of Remembrance, because that's probably the best one. So, Who Killed Cocky Robin? So the beginning of the story, teacher Eri has received some snails from an old man known as Mr. Kogane. He's kind of delusional, and he says that there's this rare species known as the Dakimaru Kingayar Skora. Eri doesn't realize that, but the principal does. Anyway, the principal knows exactly what these are, but yeah, she receives them. Sosuke, of course, thinks it's a bomb, but it's not really. She tells him it's okay. It's like these snails. I'm like, all right, everything goes okay. She ordered a fish tank, which she wants Sosuke to help with, carry upstairs. They decided to keep the box lid on open because, they didn't think it would go anywhere. Well, this happens. Kamina comes in, sees the snails, like, ooh, these are Sazi snails. And it's like, So she takes them to the homeroom etiquette lab, or homeroom lab, gets nicely cooks them and eats them. Well, when she gets back, she discovers that there's a crime scene. Like, what happened? They're doing a full investigation. It's like, oh, these are rare snails. And she's like, she doesn't realize, like, oh, I did a bad thing or whatever. I'm like, I thought these were just left out. She didn't realize that there was someone special. And it's kind of funny. There's a student who figures it out, and she decides to knock him out because she doesn't want to hand over the object. We eventually learn at the very end that these aren't these super rare snails. They're actually just regular Sazi snails. Kamina does eventually confess that she did eat them. It's kind of a bit funny, Mom. The first time when I read this, I had for some reason thought Princess Boy actually took the snails, but there's just two different orders basically. I reread them. I'm like, oh, and it took a couple reading to figure that out. I'm like, okay, so yeah, they're just regular sized snails, but Kamina did commit a crime. She ate what did not belong to her. It's pretty funny. Sazi snails are a bit weird. They don't look like our traditional snails. I was trying to see what they basically are. They have like a really beautiful shell and like a little in something inside. Kind of weird, but yeah. This is what they eat them. They're also known as turbid snails, and they can be found like between the water and like the shore, called the internal zone. But they can't be found in northerns like Hokkaido or Okinawa, just like way too cold for there. Anyway, moving on. We have the next one. So we're going to discuss Adult Sneaking Mission. This starts off a little bit funny. So Sosuke is reading some newspaper. He's reading a sports section, but he has it open to some like Playboy stuff, and like Kami's like, she's got really pissed that it's right in her face. She accuses Sosuke like not knowing what, like, don't play dumb with me. It's like, No, like whatever you saw was basically covering his gun up. Well, while they're having conversation, the we have let's see what. Give me a sec. This man known as Usei, it's like trying to talk to him, like, should you be having this conversation? Like, butt at it, like they're kind of mad. Kind of complains like the train is all, she was thinking to herself, like, the train's all smushed, like during rush hour they should have two separate cars. She, complains to her friend about the porn industry. It's all said and done. Now, they learn, when she gets to the student council, the president says he wants her to go sneak in this club called the C&J, which is kind of nearby her school. They notice students are going there, and also some of these teachers. He doesn't want them to take it out or anything, or like expose them, but like he wants photos, proof of he knows the students are going there, and it could look to a bad rap if things got out, because at the time of the appearing, it was a little adult stuff, like, maybe they're doing some porn stuff like that, like, and the teachers are getting involved, so like they have to get rid of this bad reputation, and if the principal makes an argument like, oh, the students are these delinquent students, like, well, you also have teachers as well. So she asked Kamina to Sosuke to investigate. Kamina was at first to refuse, and she was going to send Ren, but she's like, okay, never mind, because Ren is just an innocent beauty, and we'll talk a little bit about her in the Remembrance of Innocence, the other series. But yeah, so she get involved with that. And anyway, she goes to C&J. They kind of happy, like, oh, you're from Jindai High School. We learn the truth of the matter. She discovers one of the students. Hold on. This star studying achiever, Sake, and she's participating in it. She also sees Usei doing there, and we get to the bottom of this story, and it's a little funny one. You could have actually combined it with the first one. The club is known as Courage and Justice, and it's basically for men in their 30s who, they don't have any motivation, they don't have the ability to stand up to their bosses, these weak-minded men, and it gives them an opportunity to role play, be superheroes, be the studs that they can never be, or like if their life never went that way. So it kind of gives them an opportunity to be that way. It's kind of reflects, it's kind of like a bit sad. I'm like, okay, but the students get paid opportunity. It's like makes them feel good. Sosuke kind of gets in participate. He becomes one of the students that gets lectured at. One of the teachers is like a soldier and commander and gives him orders. But the true good stuff is, of course, the innocence of remembrance. So this is what happens. We start our journey off in a next school. Sosuke and Kamina go to Kamiko Academy, a very uptight, well-established, it's a rich man's high school, for the finest establishment. They meet with this principal, the student president of that school, Shihara, making arrangements about lodging for a training camp where, like leaders, like school leaders and all of them. So they're having this conversation. Well, he casually brings up their student president, our man Shimazara. Anyway, he's like talks about he was a bookie, paint dealer. He's got some shady stuff. They of course don't believe him. Sosuke is thinks something's odd about him. Just blams him with his shotgun, knocks him out. Of course, Kamina's angry because it is actually him, but he's not super angry that they knocked him out because he is an asshole. But they have to wait a little while to recover, and they kind of go back to school. They talk to Ren, like when they bring in this conversation up. It's like he went to this shady spot. She had to wait outside. She got hit on multiple times. A girl of her establishment should not have been there, but and she kind of follows him after a little date, and he gets thrown out and walks away. Well, of course, Sosuke and Kamina are interested, and they go to this place, and they kidnap the leader of this gang in this shady establishment, Kusakabi, and they kind of want the know down of their school school president. and he kind of lets them on. It's more about him story. He hooks up with this Tamako Nira. They're both delinquents, steal stuff, hooligans. Well, they eventually get involved with the Yakuza, and they're forced to pay like 300,000 yen. Imizar, the school president, has to say bail him out. He's good at poker, bails him out. Well, they eventually, about October, things between her and Tamako got a bit weird. She's comes home very late. Comes back to his place very late. Very tired. She doesn't look well. And then on her way there, she gets accidentally killed. She doesn't have a license. She got like a stolen vehicle. She wasn't wearing a helmet. Not good news bear. And of course, it's not his fault, like the president's fault, but he kind of blames her because he's been tired from going over there. She's just look haggard, and he doesn't understand the full story. Well, so he kind of blames her death. He tells her that she's passed away, and then 3 years later, current day. Hold on. Anyway, he kind of tells him, and then 3 years later, he doesn't hear from him until recently. He asks for where his address is, and he doesn't give it to him. He just kicks him out. Well, of course, they're having this conversation, and then he asks them, like, where the president went to school, and he's like, oh, Jindai. It's like, huh. He doesn't make too much of it. Kind of leaves away. This is the guy right here. That's the hooligan. I kind of was expecting something different from rereading, but then I was like, okay. Anyway, he eventually comes back to school, and he actually does give the president the address, and we learn a little bit more about the scenario. So after the incident with the Yakuza, the president, Shimazura, kind of gives Tamako a bit of a talking, like, your grades are bad, you'll never make it in life, and it's like, and you surely try to apply yourself. Well, eventually she snaps and decides, you know what, I am, and I want to get in this school, and he's like, it's a little bit out of her reach, but he decides to help her, and he basically tutors her, because he's this really smart guy. Well, of course, he dies. He learns of it. He kind of goes back to his normal life. However, he, of course, makes a change in his life and goes to Jindai. And lo and behold, they're walking, they're figuring out where the address is. It's nearby their school, Jindai. This is the place where she wanted to go. And they go, they go up to the floor, and school president, their school president, he doesn't understand, like, he's been there at school for 2.5 years, doesn't understand it. And then he kind of realizes when it's kind of implied once he gets to the apartment, like, oh, the reason she wanted to go, because she said it was a silly reason, just seeing the school was just so beautiful. Like, oh, he kind of finally gets it. It's a very sweet moment. It's definitely a fantastic read, but it's like, oh, I kind of wish this was part of the anime, like just a kind of a feel good story. Yeah, it's a little bit sad, but it's kind of comfortable. I would have really liked to see the studio. Hold on. What's Kyoto Animation actually do it? Because I think that because it was in the date, it was in the evening and everything, it would have worked perfectly. I think they got a good mastery of it. But yeah, and the official name is actually Metropolitan Jindai High School, which I find a bit funny. Like, oh, that's the full name. But yeah, I really like the story. A very good read. A lot of good action to behold. But I'll see you guys. So that's the end of that. So we're gonna move on to a Fantasy Without Honor Killing. Once I do that episode, I'm gonna take care of the end of my review. I'm gonna take care of the After School Peacekeeper and the Lost Old Dog. Then for the next part, so we have 2 more before we have to move on to the main story. We got Uncooperative Bluebird and the 5th Period Hotspot. I'm gonna probably do the 2 anime together. I'm not sure. We'll see how it works. Let me see how it works. But I'm gonna probably do the animes individually, and then I'll finish off 2.6 for like a video. So Off Target Emotion and an Error Ridden Sentence. And the Past Deadline Romance will be its own separate video, and just, short and sweet, kind of like this video. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I definitely think short story volume 1 through 3 is definitely good to read. And if you just want to read volume 4 or just read that, well, yeah, you have to kind of read the short story, but if you can find online or something, I definitely recommend the Innocence of Rembrandts. Very, really good story. The other two are fine. But yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next week for back to Full Metal Panic Fumafu. Anyway, take care.